GT Countdown. Top 10 worst consoles.
I swear, this image has been like burned into my brain for the last 18 years, and I have no idea why. I'm sure we can all think of a few old YouTube videos or a few old MySpace videos or wherever you used to watch things that really helped us grow into the people that we are today. For example, personally speaking, I'm pretty sure my sense of humor dates back to the BK Lounge. All of the anxiety that I face as an adult can be traced back to watching this video for the first time, and I probably wouldn't be here talking to you if it weren't for the good old-fashioned GT Countdown. For those of you who hadn't spawned into existence yet back when GameTrailers was a thing, think of it as like IGN before IGN was big. Ironically, now IGN owns whatever is left of GameTrailers. It was like the go-to source for gaming-related content, reviews, videos, all that kind of good stuff. And it hung around as a major player for quite a long time. They were one of the exclusive partners to carry brand new AVGN episodes, and for me, their countdown videos were some of the first top 10s I had ever watched. And they produced a ton of these top 10 lists. But today, I want to look back on one top 10 in particular. Originally airing on May 6, 2007, GameTrailers put out their list of the top 10 worst consoles ever, and they were not kidding around.
Bad design, bad games, and bad business are the elements of their philosophy. You will never find such a list of scum and villainy outside of a European war crimes court.
Good lord, that's a wild statement. I mean, I don't think they're that bad, dude. The gaming world was a very different place 18 years ago. So today, I want to revisit GameTrailers' picks on the top 10 and wonder, do they really still hold up today? Which of these consoles actually belong in a European war crimes court? How does this list hold up in the year of our Lord, 2025? And what did they get wrong, if anything? So without further ado, my name is Evan. Thank you for stopping by the channel. And if you enjoy this video at any point, I appreciate if you hit that like button and subscribe for more gaming goodness just like this. There's going to be plenty more to come. Okay, enough of me talking. Let's let GT introduce us to number 10.
Number 10. Phantom.
What better name for a console that was never released than, well, the Phantom?
I know it was 2007, but isn't it a little strange that they put in a game console that never actually came out? Like, I know it was only the 7th generation back in 2007, but there were plenty of other options we could have gone with here, and they would have made total sense. I don't know. You don't really see people putting Sonic Extreme in their list of worst Sonic games. If I'm wrong on this one, let me know, but that's just my little sidebar for now.
In 2002, Infinium Labs made the ill-fated announcement of a revolutionary game system that would operate without the use of cartridges, CDs, or DVDs. Instead, all games would be downloaded through an online subscription service on a pay-to-play basis.
Despite the Phantom never actually releasing, that concept sounds eerily familiar, doesn't it? Unfortunately, the Phantom is all too real within the gaming industry today. All digital consoles and pay-to-play subscription models have become the norm, unfortunately. I guess you can say that the Phantom was actually way ahead of its time, or I guess the idea of the Phantom was way ahead of its time. Maybe we would have had something like Game Pass a hell of a lot sooner if the Phantom wasn't being developed by a company just above snake oil salesmen. But that's a different story for a different day. And oh yeah, quick, one thing. I'm going to be ranking all of these entries on a tier list because it's 2025 and that's what you do these days, right? Unfortunately for me, the Phantom doesn't really fit into any of these categories, so I made it a new one. The digital apocalypse is coming for all of us. Run and hide, but you'll never get out of it.
Number 9. Engage.
Other than the strategy title Pathway to Glory and the pseudo-MMO Pocket Kingdom, where all the characters talked in leet speak, this side-talking game system / phone offered nothing but problems.
Okay, I could defend the N-Gage a little bit. Just a little bit. For 2003 standards, this thing was actually pretty impressive. Just check out the ports of Tony Hawk Pro Skater or Tomb Raider. Full 3D, running decently enough for 2003. I mean, this was just 2 years after the Game Boy Advance came out, so this is a big jump. There's even an exclusive Elder Scrolls game, even if it kind of stinks. And on that note, the N-Gage just never really gained any steam. Devs didn't want to make games for it, and it failed both as a game console and as a cell phone. There were a ton of design problems, from the screen, the buttons, the fact that you needed to take out the battery to change games, and the fact that you needed to hold it sideways as a cell phone, which nobody wanted to be seen in public doing. So yeah, I get why it's at number 9, although I do have a little soft spot for the N-Gage. I'm really teetering between not actually that bad and kind of cheeks, but I think the N-Gage is kind of cheeks.
Number 8. Virtual Boy.
Innovation is in the eye of the beholder, until it makes you go blind.
There's always going to be people that defend everything that Nintendo does, and while I tend to give them a little bit more leeway with their BS compared to some of the other companies in the industry, there is nothing redeeming about the Virtual Boy. I tried to think of things, but maybe the controller, but that's literally it.
Available technology limited colors to black and red. Games actually demanded players take frequent breaks to offset headaches, stiff necks, dizziness, and eye strain.
Seriously, this is super valid. There's like no way to spin this thing as being good. Not to mention, it launched with a price tag of $180 back in 1995. That's $340 adjusted for inflation now. When you think about it, the Virtual Boy makes the Switch 2 look like the bargain of the century. And yeah, 14 games ever released in the US. Enough said. I think the Virtual Boy is worse than they make it out to be. This thing is a sin against humanity.
Number 7. 3DO.
It's a new experience.
The mid-1990s was a very strange time for the gaming industry. Technology was evolving extremely fast. Nobody was really sure whether full 3D games or full motion video was the future. And so what we're left with is a console that pretty much struck out on everything it tried to do. I think this sums it up pretty well.
The 3DO, conceived by EA founder Trip Hawkins,
It plugs into the future.
was insanely pricey and squandered its impressive processing power on playing horrible full-motion video.
I couldn't tell you a single game that's worth buying a 3DO for. And as our friend over at GT just mentioned, thanks to a broken business model, the 3DO outsourced all of its console manufacturing to companies like Panasonic, most notably, and it ended up with a $700 price tag when it hit store shelves. This is in 1993 we're talking about. Today, that's $1,500. That fact pretty much defines the system's legacy, and it hasn't changed at all since this list was made 18 years ago. The 3DO, it doesn't really, I don't know. It's bad. It's definitely bad, but is it a sin against humanity? I don't think so. I don't think so. No, it's just bad. It's bad.
Number 6. Sega Genesis add-ons.
All right, time out. Here's where I'm drawing the line. We're not doing this. Time to blow this shit up. Online discourse has absolutely destroyed the reputation of the Sega CD. And I'm not saying it's an amazing platform. It's hard to even call it a console. It's an add-on. But I definitely think it's a different platform than the Genesis. Is it amazing? No. But is it bad? I don't think it's bad, and it's certainly not worse than something like the Virtual Boy or the 3DO. No way. For a console add-on, the CD has a pretty sizable lineup, over 200 games, and there's a lot of really good stuff in there. Sonic CD is great. Both Lunar games are all-time classics, and they just got remasters. Stuff like Batman Returns and the Terminator are pretty solid games that people speak fondly about. And Hideo Kojima's lost gem, Snatcher, we're still waiting for a port of that because it's extremely expensive on the Sega CD and generally considered to be the system's crown jewel. It's also easy to forget there was a ton of ports from the Genesis to the CD, and there were some good improvements being made. Final Fight CD and Mortal Kombat were two pretty good versions of those games that were heavily improved thanks to the CD. So while I do disagree with the Sega CD pick, I think the 32X being on here is fine. There's not really much going for it. That thing was a dumpster fire and absolutely was a complete mistake from Sega. It deserves a spot on this list, but leave the Sega CD out of this. Okay, so I separated the 32X and the CD here. I think the 32X is a sin against humanity. No games, pretty much no reason to buy it, died immediately, pretty self-explanatory. But for our first, not actually that bad, Sega CD, defending it, taking this one home.
Number 5. Jaguar.
Numbers define the capabilities of a system. And while other companies would brand the number of bits on their hardware, Atari felt like its Jaguar console from 1993 was self-explanatory. But what Atari failed to see itself was a number of fundamental flaws with the system, including faulty processors, poor third-party support, and a ridiculous controller setup.
I think number 5 is a fine spot for the Jaguar. A lot of what I said about the 3DO applies to the Jag. It claimed to be powerful, but it just wasn't built for where the industry was heading. I guess the most notable thing I could say about it was the port of Doom, which led to 10 plus years of Doom with truncated levels, and the commercials. Okay, the Jaguar commercials, it's pretty hard to hate those.
Can you repeat the question?
Jaguar! Jaguar! Jaguar!
I also wonder why they left off the Jaguar CD. I think this one probably could go lower if they included it. but they probably couldn't get their Jaguar CD to work, so I guess I get it. I think if they included the Jaguar CD, this one is a sin against humanity, but as it stands, it's pretty similar to the 3DO. Bad.
Number 4. Philips CDI.
Yes, yes, yes. Another excuse to talk about the CDI. Cue the Tetris music and the shameless plug. Go watch it. Let's go, baby. The CDI actually wasn't meant to be a game system, but more an all-in-one entertainment box for your living room. But as we've come to learn, Xbox, this concept just doesn't really work. It's never really worked at any point in time. So while the context of calling the CDI strictly as a game system isn't exactly fair, it's really bad as a video game console when you consider it like that. It's still home to some really bad releases, and early internet discourse absolutely has framed the CDI as a video game console, so whatever. Okay, like, you can fight me over this one, but I'm putting the CDI in kind of cheeks.
Number 3. Atari 5200.
Facing increasing competition from Intellivision and ColecoVision, in 1982, Atari released the Atari 5200. It also suffered from a glut of re-released titles, a software library that failed to hit triple digits, and the most hated controller of all time.
Bold claim here, the most hated controller of all time. Okay. I'm not so sure enough people have actually held one in their hand to back up that claim, but as somebody who has, it's probably true. It's definitely the worst controller I've ever held. If you didn't know, Atari thought they had something on their hands with a joystick that didn't automatically come back to the center if you pushed it. It feels horrible. It should be criminal that they even released that, but it's real and it feels so bad. So bad. Anyway, I think people generally tend to go a little easy on the second generation of consoles because it was really early technology. And yeah, I think that's fair, but the 5200 is definitely an exception. It's just like every decision that Atari made with this thing was wrong. The main problem with the Atari 5200 was that it was completely unnecessary, and for that, it is a sin against humanity.
Number 2. R-Zone.
Fear Tiger Electronics symmetry. The company's Game.com tried to one-up the Game Boy with a matching monochromatic screen, a touch interface, and a modem.
I think this video is really well produced, but what's weird to me about this intro is that they start by talking about the R-Zone and showing nothing but the Gamecom, which honestly, I think the Gamecom could take the number 2 spot just as much as the R-Zone could.
Enter the R-Zone, a cartridge-based LCD game system that made the Virtual Boy look like a PlayStation 7. Most shameful was the optional headgear wrapped in a shamelessly slick marketing ploy.
Gotta give Tiger a little bit of credit here though. It takes some balls to rip off the Virtual Boy. Like, didn't they see the Virtual Boy and be like, oh, that's a terrible idea? No, they were just like, all right, we're doing that. We're doing that. As a child of the 2000s, I still grew up playing some of these Tiger games, and they just barely qualify as video games to me, so strapping them on your head in red and just red, it's not even red and black like the Virtual Boy, it's just red. Oh God, I can't even imagine what that's like. Thankfully, I've never had an encounter with an R-Zone, but number 2 is pretty good for this one. Really, the R-Zone should be in a category of its own, but strapping a Tiger game to your face is a sin. No questions asked.
Number 1. Gizmondo.
I assume this video was the first time a lot of people ever heard of the Gizmondo. I mean, it was a long time ago, but it was still the first time I have ever heard of it. And for me, honestly, it's a perfectly solid choice for the top spot. The Gizmondo was like this perfect storm of being a really shitty game console. It was developed by a snake oil company. It was way, way overpriced when it came out. Has virtually no games, and they still had the gall to try and pull stuff like this.
Maybe it was because the budget version forced you to watch 3 commercials a day.
Fun fact that, I don't know if GT knew this or not, but the ads on the ad-supported consoles actually never got turned on, so pretty much everyone who wasted the extra money to buy a ad-free console got nothing in return for it. All 5 of them in total. But hey, at least we got sticky balls. Ooh, one more fact that GT left out. Gizmondo is made of such a shitty outer material that it actually is destroying itself with time. There are literally pictures online of Gizmondo units melting. It's a complete disaster. There's no other place for the Gizmondo. Also a sin. So overall, I think GT did a pretty good job with this list. For 2007, they made a lot of good choices, but I think I would still make a couple changes, nothing major, but let's run through them really quick. So, like I said before, 2 entries kind of stuck out to me here. I don't think the Phantom really counts for this list since it didn't actually come out, nor would I include the Sega CD. Instead, let's just make that the 32X and call it there. I'm also going to take the N-Gage off this list. I think there's a couple other pieces of hardware that deserve it more than the N-Gage, so consider yourself spared, Nokia. As for what I'm adding, I want to throw on the NEC Super Graphics into this mix. That thing only came out with 4 games total, and it was rushed to market to try and beat the Sega Genesis to the 16-bit market. I'm also going to add the Gamecom to the R-Zone section because I just want to include the Gamecom somewhere. I really wanted to put the Ouya in this mix as well, but in good conscience, I couldn't put it over the Hyperscan. Technically, this one could have made the list. It was out at the time when they made it. It came out a year before, but I don't think its suckage had quite hit the mainstream yet. It was still flying under the radar at the time. And with those new entries in the mix, my new order is as follows. Number 10, the Philips CDI. Number 9, the Jaguar. Number 8, the 3DO. Number 7, the 32X. Virtual Boy at 6, 5200 at 5, the Super Graphics in at number 4, the Hyperscan at number 3, the disastrous duo of the R-Zone and the Gamecom at 2, and the Gizmondo hanging on at number 1. But that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, again, I ask you to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to keep up with more gaming goodness just like this. I don't really know how to describe this channel. It's just a lot of fun stuff that I've been doing here and talking about games that I feel like talking about, and you know, we're having a good time. This community is growing and I would love for you to be a part of it, and leave a comment. I've been responding to a ton of comments. I love reading what you have to say and starting a conversation, so let's do that today. With that, guys, that's all I got. Peace.